Thanks very much. It must be an incredibly busy day on your phone today, with the news coming through that the Lions are gone, and it's now official that the Kings are going to be playing Super Rugby next year.
Yeah, the phone doesn't stop ringing, and the decision was 23 votes to 6 that the Kings are in and the Lions out.
All right, so 23 votes to 6, quite unanimous. Kings are in, Lions are out. But the compromise, obviously, is that it's not a 2 or 3 year tenure for the Kings. I mean, it can be, but if whichever team, and say if they do finish bottom, which is obviously not what you're thinking in terms of, but the bottom team will play a playoff against the Lions. So in effect, now the way we move forward is out of the 6 franchises we got, the 5 that play, the bottom one will play against the one that hasn't played. And that's the first thing that the Kings are going to be looking at, is to make sure that they start their first season and don't automatically, as people will automatically assume, that it's going to be a Kings-Lions playoff. I mean, that's not fait accompli at all.
No, it's not, but it's a ludicrous suggestion, Darren. And I think that it just causes more instability in South African rugby. It should have been for the full term till 2015. I think any business or anything you tackle is normally a 2-3 year turnaround, and let's just, for argument's sake, say that Western Province have a spate of injuries and they land at bottom of the log, and they got to play it against the Lions. It's another franchise that drops out, so it's a ludicrous proposal that the Kings are only in for a year. It doesn't make sense.
I want to ask you the same question. We spoke to Mark Keohane just a short while ago to get his opinion, but I want to ask you, and we know how things go in South African rugby sometimes. In that scenario, suddenly the Stormers or the Bulls or the Sharks, as you say, have a bad year, a lot of injuries, finish bottom. We've seen it before where suddenly the rules change. Do you think they would actually let it carry on that way? Is it written in stone, or do you think that suddenly there will be a change of heart in how this works?
I think it's not cast in stone, like anything isn't cast in stone. And I think that, our decision of being in should have been cast in stone at the last General Council meeting. But there was so much speculation about in the media, speculation in sponsors' minds and players' minds, that it had to take this meeting to rubber stamp the thing that the Kings are in and the Lions out. So the structure doesn't make any sense to any organization, whether it be rugby. It just doesn't make. It's a ludicrous structure.
What doesn't make sense to me in this scenario is, how do you contract players for any period longer than a year in that case? Because you don't know what's going to happen.
Absolutely, it's a time bomb, and it should have been addressed right from the beginning.
Yeah. Because that's basically what's going to happen now. I mean, you're going to have teams contracting players for 1 year, because otherwise you end up in a minefield if suddenly they finish bottom. Players don't want to suddenly sit on their backsides for another season. They want to play international rugby and Super Rugby. So it's not only the Kings and teams like that, but I mean every team is going to have to start looking at this now in terms of how they contract players.
Absolutely, I don't think the Bulls, the Stormers and the Sharks can feel comfortable. Whether it's some catastrophe that hits the team and they lose 8 or 9 players, they could end up bottom of the log.
Yeah.
So it doesn't bode well for the future.
The contracting of players now, and there's been news coming through that it's not automatic that now the Lions are suddenly going to be harvested for the Kings, and that the guys will be looking maybe internationally at some of our overseas-based players. But one of the points that we made, I think last time we spoke to you, is that in a state of origin scenario, Port Elizabeth and the Eastern Cape would have one of the strongest rugby teams in the country if everyone played from where they come from. Is that going to be one of the main focuses, to try and maybe look at players and bring them back to where they come from?
The main focus would obviously be players that are born and bred and produced out the Eastern Cape.
Okay.
But I've played a little bit of rugby in my lifetime, and if I was a Lions rugby player, I would want to play Super Rugby next year. So if I would expect an exodus of players from the Lions. That's just a fact. It's not. I think any player that we would sign would have a get-out clause that should we not be playing Super Rugby in 2014, that they can apply their trade. It's just the honourable thing to do.
Yeah, there's going to be interesting dynamics going on in the different unions, because obviously in Joburg and at Ellis Park, they're now going to be spending a lot of time trying to focus their players on being around so that they can win a playoff to get back into the competition. But meanwhile, there are going to be other unions going, well, listen, you want to play next season, come here. It's going to be like tug of war in rugby.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, look, congratulations. I know obviously you didn't get what you guys were hoping for, but it's now official. Southern Kings are in Super Rugby. Are you? I mean, is this now done and dusted? This is the way it's going to be, or are you going to try and push to maybe get them to go back to maybe a 2-year commitment, or are you accepting it as it is now, even though you're not happy about it?
No, not accepting it as it is at all, because it just doesn't make sense. It's not good for South African rugby. You know, the same as we withdrew our push for 2011 to give the Lions and whoever would be bottom 2 more years to prepare and get themselves ready. I just think that we're in a scenario where this 1-year term, it cannot be accepted.
Yeah. So you are going back now to the powers that be to say and basically lodging an appeal or protest against the decision that's made.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we'll watch that with interest, Cheeky. We appreciate you spending some time chatting to us. We know it's been a busy day for you. Thanks for talking to us on Balls Visual Radio. Cheers, man. Bye-bye.
Well, bye.
There we go. Cheeky Watson.
He sounds very tired.
He sounds very upset.
We the best on 3. 1, 2, 3. We the best.
2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mondays to Fridays live on balls.co.za. Balls.co.za.